Okay, I am trying this live video out from a park, which is beautiful and gorgeous and right on the way from where I was coming from to where I was going. I really hope that you guys can hear me. So please let me know if you guys cannot hear me clearly, because I really want to talk to you about something super important. I will speak louder, or I'll zoom in, or I'll do something like that. But I really wanted to allow you to experience the beauty around me. I know that just that kind of natural beauty in itself can often be inspiration and make you feel a little bit happier and a little bit better in your day. So wanted to share that with you, in addition to talking about a really important understanding of happiness. So, I think yesterday I had an intro session with a client, which was so indicative of the way in which we usually deal with sadness or any kind of really difficult emotion, right? So I had this client come in who's been, experiencing anxiety and depression for the first time in her life. She's never really gone through something this bad before, and now she's really struggling. And, she's a type A. She's amazing. She's a badass entrepreneur, super successful, dropped out of high school and just did amazing things with her life, and did it all herself. So it's always been like really driven, really go, right? I know a lot of you who are listening to this, even those of you who are listening to the replay, can relate to that, right? And when she was, and so she came in and we started talking a lot, and, did a deep breakthrough session where we really looked at what's going on in her thoughts, in her body, and in her life that are causing and creating the experience she's having with depression and anxiety. And so, sorry if it's loud. I can hear some trucks just went by. So, we get into these amazing and really profound insights about what she needs for her life and what she needs to feel better, and like how she's going to work through this. And we started doing one practice together, and it was really powerful. And in that session itself, she made some like really important and powerful shifts. So, I suggested, okay, well, if you want to continue working together, why don't we, agree to work together for the next 6 months or so, and we'll really kind of work through this and be able to kind of alleviate a lot of the conditions that are causing depression. And, she said to me, well, instead of doing 6 months, why don't we do 3 months, or even 1 month, twice or 3 times or 4 times a week? Let's meet as many times as possible, so that I can, become a master at all the techniques that you're going to show me, so that I can become a master at healing my depression, and I can get it done and over with and get back to my life, right? And I was laughing so much because, it's such an American way of looking at sadness and depression and anxiety. And of course, nobody wants to sit with these ugly emotional experiences, right? They're not easy. Like they're hard, but this desire to be like, I'm just going to solve this. I'm going to treat it like any other puzzle or problem I've ever had in my life. I'm just going to solve it, put the neat solution, and move on with my life immediately, right? And that is just not the way that our emotional or our mental health kind of needs handling. It's a lifetime journey. Of course, some upfront major healing happens, but really it's about a lifetime journey and commitment to knowing that there's going to be some difficult times in your life, and it's important when those times come up to be able to slow down and really pay attention to why this has come up, what's out of alignment in your life, what you need to change, what you need to do differently, what you need to think differently, what you need to eat differently, how you need to show up differently in the world, whatever it is, right? Really important that you learn from these experiences, and that you take the time to go in and reflect and not just try to solve this like another puzzle, And similarly, I always think about it like the weather, it's like when it's winter, or it's snowy, or it's ugly, or it's a crappy day, like, yeah, you could sit there and fight with it and be pissed off that it's winter, or try to just like, hope the winter goes away faster. But that's not how the winter works, right? Or that's not how seasons work, right? The winter is there because it's a time in the kind of life of the planet, and I'm speaking from New York, so we get winters, right? But it's a time in the life of the planet where, you know, or at least in New York at that time, where things need to die, they need to slow down, they need to, you know, go underground and regenerate, right? And we don't hold it against the plants for having winter, you know, it's just a required thing for certain places on the planet to go through difficult seasons on a weather level, right? And that's the same thing inside of us, right? We have weather systems that tell us, hey, you know, it's time to rain, like it's time to cry, it's time to be, you know, it's time to hibernate, it's time to do this. It's weather systems based on what our bodies need, what our minds need. And if we're willing to listen to that and just meet it with the same kind of respect that we meet the weather outside, then we get to learn from all the difficult emotional experiences that we go through and have much, much, much more meaningful, significant, lasting happiness on the other end of it. So the title of this live was about, you know, what is the, according to science, what's the things that make us happiest, right? And they have shown that the people who are happiest in the world are the people who are willing to be with their sadness and who are willing to learn from their sadness and who can be psychologically resilient within the context of their sadness. Psychologically resilient does not mean stuffing all of their emotions and pretending they're happy anyway. Psychologically resilient means, hey, this is the weather right now inside of me, so this is how I need to show up right now. I need to respect this experience, right? So there's tons of research out there, and the latest blog post I have up there now links to a lot of the research that shows that if you can meet your sadness with reverence and learn from it and tune in and honor what your body needs at that time, then you're gonna be able to heal so much more powerfully and be a much happier person in the long run, right? Because happiness is not about sugar highs or parties. I mean, of course, those contribute, but happiness is really, really most deeply associated with meaning and fulfillment and connection and purpose, right? And those things we often get from really, really difficult experiences. So I wanted to kind of spend the next, 15 minutes or so giving you guys some tools and some practices to be with sadness, right? To be with difficult emotions, how to be with them in a way that's ultimately going to create healing. And so if you are watching this on the live stream or if you're watching this on the replay, say hi, send a heart shower, send me some love. We're always talking about deep, dark stuff on my channel, and so important that we stay connected and loving to each other during that. So say hello. I'd love to know who's here, who's listening, who's showing up, and of course ask me questions and stuff when they come up for you. So the first part of being with your darkness, being with your sadness, being with any difficult emotion is really about believing in your ability to get through it, right? So that's the first step. So, at the end of a relationship, a lot of people stay way too long in a relationship because they're so scared at what's going to happen when they have to go through a breakup, right? So the breakup will come and they're not going to be able to handle it. They may not find someone who loves them that much. What if they're just crying all the time in bed? They'll be overwhelmed. They'll have to think all of these things. They'll have to own up to their part in the breakup. They'll have to go back to ground zero. They'll have to deal with all of this difficult emotions, right? And so they'll be like, I can't get through this, so I'm just going to stay with this relationship, right? Now, we all know that settling into anything, a career, a relationship, a friendship, anytime you feel like you're settling, that's going to be the opposite of happiness, right? So happiness in the long term is going to mean willingness to be with the sadness and being psychologically resilient in that sadness in order to get you to a much longer term happiness, right? So the first part of that is believing that you can get through that necessarily kind of difficult time period, right? So how can you believe that? How can you believe and be sure that you can get through this stuff? Well, look back at the rest of your life. If you are watching this live stream, you are alive, right? You've already gotten through so much stuff. You've already gotten through probably several breakups before. You probably had your heart torn out of you. And then you were younger and less intelligent and less capable, and you probably didn't have as many friends or as many great connections, or you knew less about yourself, right? So you got through all of it then. Of course you can get through it now, right? Of course you can get through it now. So go back and look, hey, what were the toughest things that I have gotten through in this life? You know, is it a breakup? Is it about with depression? Was it graduating high school? Whatever it was for you. And look at how did I get through that? What was the mental capacities, mental resilience that got me through that? Who were the people that got me through that? What are the different things that got me through that experience? And then take them, bring them into your life, actively cultivate them, and know that through those same strengths, whether it be a therapist or just a mental practice or a meditation practice or a yoga practice or going on vacation or slowing down or, you know, connecting to your people, bring them into your life and intentionally go into and face whatever it is you have to face. So remembering that you have gotten through this before and all the evidence points to you being able to get through this again, that's a really important thing for you to have in mind, okay? So that's number one. Number two is seeing the good that comes from the bad, okay? So again, I want you to look back on your life and look back on all the darkest and most difficult things that you've had to get through, and pay attention to how much more rich and meaningful your life is as a result. So I'll bring this into my own life experience right now, right? So as you all know, I struggled with anxiety and depression really badly for 15 years of my life, right? A really obvious outcome of that, positive outcome of that now, is that, of course, I'm able to do incredible and amazing work with so many people who struggle with anxiety, depression, low confidence, all these kinds of issues. And I can feel and I can help heal them, and I can change the way we think about these things, and I can get people off of medication, and I can do amazing things because I weathered that, right? So that was one thing. Another thing, though, was that I made really deep friendships. I never had the capacity within me to fake it or pretend to enjoy a party that I didn't enjoy or pretend to enjoy anything I didn't enjoy. I didn't have the emotional energy. So all the people that I'm friends with are real, awesome, good people. How do you guys like that loud truck? Wow. So that's another beautiful thing that came out of it, right? Another beautiful thing that came out of it was my awareness of my body, right? When kind of standard traditional psychology failed me, and I really went and learned about Ayurveda and herbs and yoga and meditation sciences and energy sciences and started practicing Reiki, I really, really came to understand my body, and now I feel like a superhuman. I haven't been sick or ill in 6 years, not once, because I know exactly what my body needs. I know exactly when it needs it, and I know how to give it exactly what it needs. So it's pretty amazing, right? And that's, you know, depression and anxiety. I can talk about my parents' divorce. I can talk about a difficult breakup I went through, right? There's so much beauty and meaning that comes from it, right? I saw this play on Broadway actually just the other day. If you live in New York, go see it. It's called Come From Away. It's brilliant. It's about this these people who basically got stuck on 9/11. All planes were grounded, and these people got stuck in Newfoundland in this town called Gander, which is like a 5,000 person town, and 7,000 or 8,000 people got stuck there, and they couldn't get in touch with their relatives. They lost people in the U.S. They couldn't get home. They couldn't get in touch, and it was such a terrible and difficult experience until and except the people of Gander, these Canadians, came out and made those people at home. It was only a 5,000 person town. They all invited them into each one of their individual homes because they didn't have shelters or hotels. And they gave them these, they treated them like family. They honored what was going on for them. They showed up and really helped them through the experience. And every year now they go back, all of these people, these 7,000 people now go back and celebrate the connection and love that they found in this small little town on this terrible day in history, right? So there's always beauty, and it's important for you to focus on knowing that even whatever difficulty you're facing, or maybe whatever difficulty you're avoiding facing, or whatever sadness you're trying to avoid, knowing that this is here to bring you beauty and meaning and connection. Get clear on that and keep that in front of you, knowing that this too will bring you as much, if not more, of the beauty and experience, right? So that's the second point, getting through the darkness, right? Third point is to start to dialogue directly with the difficult emotion. So let's work with sadness in particular right now. So when you're sad, a lot of people do one of two things, right? So they'll either avoid it completely and try to fill their schedule and be really, 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 really busy so they don't have to pay attention to it. And they think, all I have to do is think positive thoughts. All I have to do is think positive thoughts. And then all of a sudden I'm going to be happy and healthy and it's all going to be good and all this kind of stuff. Doesn't work like that, right? The other side of things is that people go really, really deeply into the sadness and they believe everything their sad thoughts tell them. You're bad, you're terrible, you're not going to get through this, you suck. You're a victim, life is terrible, whatever it is, right? And they get really deep into this. And I'm saying neither one of those approaches are going to work. So the interim approach is to dialogue with your sadness. So what you're showing up there and you're basically asking, what can I learn from you? What are you here to teach me? How are you going to help me grow, right? So again, coming back to my own examples, when, so I'll tell you kind of a more recent example in my life was, and I'm pretty sure my husband is watching this, so if you are, hey babe, love you. So I think when I first got married, which was very recently, and we are still newlyweds, but there was stuff coming up in our marriage in the beginning, specifically around me getting really reactive to when he would interrupt me, like that. Constantly interrupting was just making me angry and sad and frustrated, and like a few times I lost it, right? I lost it. Hey babe, I lost my cool completely, and it was not a good thing, right? So what did I do? Well, I didn't just be like, I'm only going to focus on the positive. I, of course, looked at the positive. I also didn't say, he's an ass, you're never going to make it in this marriage, you were right, marriage sucks all the time. I also didn't go there, right? Neither one. Instead, I said, hey, anger, what are you here to teach me? What is the need that I have that is not being met within the context of my dialogue with my husband, right? And it's like, okay, when I really did that introspective work, I saw that I need to feel heard and understood. I need a little more time than he does, because he's an amazing extrovert who can just like talk and have amazing conversation, and I'm not like that. I need to have deeper introspective time to articulate my ideas and get clear on them. So that's what I needed for myself, right? And so what I was able to do from that place of recognizing, hey, this is the need that I need to meet, is I can say, all right, well, first internally, rather than screaming at him, let me do that internally. Let me just pause and say, hey, I'll answer you in a second. Let me think about that, and get clear on my message internally. And then externally to him, I could say, hey, I know it's not your intention to try to, stunt my thoughts or stunt my words, but when you interrupt, I'm going to call you out on it, and I'd appreciate if you react or you respond in this way, right? And that allowed both of us to grow, right? And move through that anger and release that anger. Now, that was a really small example, but it's always true, right? We always, always, always can learn from our sadness, right? And if we decide to dialogue with it rather than avoid it, it is a really, really powerful thing, because it has so much to teach us. All right, step 3, reach out to your people. So, again, I've referred to this a few times, right? I referred to this in the story I told about the Broadway play I just saw. And I referred to this about the friendships that I made during the time that I was going through depression, right? And the point is that all of that happened because of the meaningful connections you get with people in your darkest times, right? And everybody has experienced these kinds of miracles. When you lose your parent, the people who will show up at your wake or show up in unique and miraculous ways, right? Where you feel so loved, so held, and so supported, right? Or when you finally open up to your best friends about your depression, right? and they don't say, oh, you're weird, oh, just focus on the positive, but they're really willing to hold you and be with you, right? That's a friendship that is so much deeper and longer lasting than anything you ever could have got from a million parties. Yes, party with your friends, of course. They don't always need to be like focused on sadness, but you gotta be able to open up to what's real, right? And that's a big part of that, is opening up to what's dark and deep and difficult inside of you, right? So who can you reach out to about your difficult experience? You know, I know you feel vulnerable. I know you feel like a burden to them. I know you feel like you're not worthy of your time. I know you feel like everybody wants to be positive and you're ruining that for them. And all I want to say is, you know what? That's not true. And here's how you can know. Because when people come to you for help, do you feel like that? Do you feel like they're a burden on you? Do you feel like they're wasting your time? Do you feel like they're not worthy of having their feelings that they're having? Hell no, of course you don't, right? Because we have a built-in machine of compassion called our heart, and it is the most powerful way of connecting to people. So just as you are open to being able to experience and hold people's difficult experiences, do the same. Open up, find your people. You're gonna find so much miracle and connection in love in just that. It's so powerful and it's so amazing. So last thing I wanted to talk about is kind of preparing to handle your darkness, right? And so again, darkness means kind of any difficult emotion. But if you think about what does it mean to prepare for to go through a difficult time? Well, this kind of goes back to the first part in believing you could get through it and knowing what gets you through it, right? So for me, whenever I'm going through a dark time, and again, this can be big or small. This can be a major kind of discord with, let's say, someone in my family, or it can be something tiny, like I'm getting my period and I know my emotions are going to be high or whatever, you know? If you pause in that moment and you say, okay, how am I going to be able to get through this with the most grace and dignity and the most amount of self-love and self-care, right? So number one might be find your people, connect to them, let them know that you're going through this. Number two might be slow down your life, take social engagements off your calendar. Number three might be something like eat insanely healthy, or get the supplements, or enjoy, or make sure you have joy built into your life. Make sure you have downloaded your favorite comedy movies or a soundtrack that uplifts you, or whatever it is. It's up to you, but the point is, be really intentional about saying, here I am about to enter a really difficult part of my life. Let me be intentional about designing the next few days or months or even years in a way that's going to support my healing, my growth, my connection to meaning, my connection to myself, my connection to other people, right? And when you take that approach, right, when you take this really real approach of being ready for it, knowing you can get through it, intending to see the good that's going to come from it, dialoguing with and learning from what your unmet needs are, what's out of alignment, and finally reaching out to your people, it becomes this incredibly profound, almost spiritual experience every time you go through a dark or difficult emotion, right? It's so powerful. So that's really what I wanted to share with you guys. The blog post, I think it's in the link, goes into this a little bit more deeply and talks to you through some more examples, as well as helps you really just get clear on, what are the areas that you need to focus on in terms of dealing with your darkness more passionately. And it gives you some of the research in case you don't want to believe me, in case you're still resisting the idea of feeling sad or owning your difficult emotions. Gives you some of the research that shows that the happiest, strongest, most successful people in the world are people who know how to show up for their darkness. So I encourage you to do the same. You're welcome to come hang out with me and do it, or if you want a really easy introductory tool to support you in all of this, you can check out my happiness formula. I think I'll put it in the link or the comments after this, but after I'm done with this live stream. The happiness formula helps you really get clear on what makes you happy, so it allows you to prepare for these darker times by knowing exactly what is going to bring you joy and meaning, and to set your life up accordingly. So if that sounds good to you, then check out the happiness formula. Be in touch, ask me questions, Replay listeners, say hello, and I send you all so much love and so much beauty all around. Love you all. Namaste. See you very soon.